Hello Australia, welcome to episode 703 of The Couch. Let me tell you what's happening. We've got Ted and Jen and Chris, but minus the Ted today on the Bitchin' team. Ted's not feeling well, so Chris and Jen are here, so we'll do that very soon. He's sick. Talking music with Demelza Leonard, she's definitely here. We're talking customer service, holiday bookings and holiday customer service in general with Chris Moyer and Nisha Seth. Later on, Red Zoo comes in, Ranger Red comes in, talking about Red Zoo and all the holidays that are coming up in July. And What's on Perth with Daniele Fotti Catsolas talking Cannoli Day and more. It's a big couch. Music-wise, we've got Mars Garage, so stick around. Big Couch, 703 starts now.
It's showtime on the couch. It's showtime on the couch. You can see it from your house. You can see it from your house. It's showtime on the couch with Fred and the best in town. You can see it from your house. Yeah, it's showtime on the couch. Oh.
Hello Australia, welcome to another Big Couch. Hope you're doing well all around Australia. I've got a little bit of a cough that comes and goes, which is not a good thing, but I hope you're feeling well, and I hope all the COVID situations around Australia are getting better. And I had my second jab, as they call it, last week, and I'm doing really, really well. Let's get on with the show today. We've got the Bitchin' team in, minus Ted Bull, but let me welcome them.
Where's Ted?
Chris Ilsley, 6IX, and Jen Merrigan. Have a go news. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you both here. Now, Ted, of course, wasn't feeling well this morning, so he rang through. And we wish you all the best, Ted. We look forward to having you back in the new season when we come back late July. What are we talking about today? Jen, you can do the honours.
Thanks, Fred.
First person heading off the golf table, I'm always second, so go right ahead. You know.
Bali's trying to open up again for tourism. And I mean, we all know that every country, particularly those that rely on tourism, have copped it exceptionally hard over the last, year and a half. And there's not much that we can do about it. But it just really concerns me that people haven't looked at how pandemics run. And pandemics, if we go back 100 years and look at the Spanish flu, they have first waves, second waves, third waves, sometimes fourth and fifth waves, and that usually lasts for about 2 or 3 years minimum.
Correct.
And we're not all vaccinated. The world's not all vaccinated. And I just think that opening up tourism is a recipe for disaster.
Well, I couldn't understand. Look, the governor of Bali and the government, Bali is looked at as a meal ticket for Indonesia because they want to try and always make Bali look traditional, make it look like it's a resort, an island, which it is. And the government of Indonesia make a lot of money from it. It's a Hindu-run country or island, and most of the country is Muslim. And we love Bali. As you know, I've been there 57 times. So I'm looking forward to going back. But the problem is that the Balinese have forgotten is that it's not that we can't go there, it's we can't fly there. The airports are closed. Now, apparently, from my friends in Bali have told me that Europe and the UK and Asia have all opened up. So Bali's looking at opening up in July. God knows how they're going to do that and do it safely.
The governor here has talked about that they're going to have 3 zones, which is going to be Sanua and Nusa Dua.
All the ones the tourists
and
go to.
Legian, I think. And they're going to try and vaccinate everybody to 100% and get herd immunity in those zones. But I don't see how that's going to work because, I mean, I've been to Bali a lot as well. Most people...
Red Gum, I've been to Bali too, sorry.
Most people that work in those hotels live elsewhere.
Correct.
So there's going to be people going backwards and forwards.
Can I be boring?
Yep.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure.
At some point, we're going to have to work out how we're going to live with this thing.
Yeah, well,
Because it's not going away.
No,
I
it's not
agree,
going away.
I
But
agree.
vaccination is really the only... Vaccination and herd immunity are the only ways that we're going to be able
anyone
to live
going
with
logically would be immunised. And they wouldn't be allowed to get on
Well,
the
the
plane
airlines
if they
won't
weren't
let you fly unless you are immunised. But the point is, a lot of people are forgetting that even if, like myself, I've had both vaccines, I'm fully vaccinated, but I will still get the virus. If I go to Bali and they've all got it, I will still get COVID. It just won't kill me.
Exactly, and you can still transmit it.
Well, let's say
Correct.
that's a pretty good thing if it doesn't kill you. But what you
Yeah.
also forget, here's another inconvenient truth. 80% of people infected with COVID are not infectious themselves. That's why a few months ago, that bloke who'd been to everywhere, Bunnings, KFC and God knows where else in Perth,
Correct.
they'd been all over the joint, nobody got infected because he wasn't infectious. The only downside is you don't know into which category you fall. Are you the 20% infectious or the 80% non-infectious? If they could actually identify that, that would be a real breakthrough.
do you
Well, and
think-
also the new variants,
Yes.
they're a lot more infectious, and
See,
they're having
I
a lot
agree.
more of effect on younger people as well.
Jen,
so that's
one of the
what we're
biggest
seeing
problems
as well.
I find, and you know with Bali, they're very poor.
Yes.
The people that are working, the people we mix with, don't have a lot of money. And over there, I can't trust. When people say they've been vaccinated, they're liable to give you a fake certificate to say they have.
Absolutely.
But my worry is
What?
that...
They wouldn't tell you the truth in
No,
Indonesia. I
but
can't believe
unfortunately,
that.
it's the world of copycat, Bali. So you can imagine so many people would have their little passport thing saying they're vaccinated. My worry is I've been to Bali and I've been sick and it's bad enough. I would hate to go to Bali, be allowed to enter the country, go and stay in Sanur where I normally stay, which is about half an hour away from the busy zone. But I'm concerned that if you catch the virus, you could be very, very sick, especially if you haven't been fully vaccinated.
See, the other thing you have to keep in mind is if they open Bali up, people will go back without hesitation.
There'll be a group of people that couldn't care less.
There's no doubt about it.
I
'cause they'll
won't be
looking for
going
their
back, and
cheap holiday.
I love Bali. And people have said to me, "Oh, I bet you're waiting to go back." No, I'm not. If I had a choice, I'd go to Lombok first, which is a smaller little island, and I can isolate a lot easier in Lombok. It's because there's not as much stuff in Lombok. But my worry is that I think they're fooling themselves, Indonesia. They're doing this just to get money into the country again through Bali, and I really do think the world will teach them a lesson. I don't think the airlines are going to fly there
What
if
about
they
the
don't have.
Europeans? Do you think they'll allow it, or do you think they'll
Do
say,
you know what?
no, this
I'll
is
be
not
honest
gonna
about the Europeans. I've got friends that live in Italy and they've got businesses over there. They're very selfish. The Europeans, a different attitude. They've never closed their airports. They've never shut down tourism. And this is the biggest problem that they've got in Europe and the UK. If you have a look, they're getting 7,000 people a day in the UK getting the virus.
Yes.
And they don't care. They manage it. And I think that's great that they're managing it. But I would not want
But
that
here's the
idea
other
here
question.
in
When we
Australia.
talk about 7,000 people getting the virus, how many of those people are actually getting crook? I mean, you could be
Well, they're isolated
given the
at home.
test,
Yeah.
and you've got the virus, but you're not feeling
No,
crook.
and you stay home for 2 weeks. My problem is it's the ones that can't, the ones that do get sick.
Yep.
Yes.
You've got to be really worried about those people. And I think the fact that we closed our airports, our our flights, was a great idea. And I think now that we've got these bubbles, I'd rather have bubbles.
Yes.
We can't keep doing it.
No,
And every
I
time
agree.
we get an outbreak, we can't keep doing. As far as I can see, the only state that seems to be being rational about this is New South Wales. Everywhere else has this lockdown mentality. Well, let's take Jen's scenario. Let's take Jen's scenario to its limit. You're not going to be able to lock down every time someone catches a dose of COVID for the next 3 years. If you do,
No.
the costs to people who are going to lose their businesses and their livelihoods and their homes and all the rest of it's just too great.
See, I'm not
That's why
suggesting.
that's why we need everyone to get vaccinated.
Correct.
The more that we get vaccinated, and the quicker we get vaccinated, the better it's going to be.
I'm with you. I agree.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, deal with the bloody anti-vaxxers.
Yeah,
Oh,
look,
absolutely.
there was a problem there.
I've had my first COVID shot,
Yep.
and I had AstraZeneca, and then a week later they changed it to that you could have Pfizer.
Correct. Yeah, I was
and
the
I'm just going and having my second
I had
AstraZeneca.
the second. Yep.
And look, you've got more chance of being killed in a car accident
look,
than
exactly.
you have from getting a blood clot
Very, very
from
true.
What we forget,
AstraZeneca.
anyone who's on any pills, what you need to do is take out that little piece of paper they give you. It's usually folded up into about 100 different pieces. Unfold it, look in there. Somewhere you will find two things. One is contraindications. The other are what they call possible side effects, which are mild, severe,
Extreme.
Whatever the term
the
they
problem
use.
with those-
and when you get to some
yeah.
of the extreme ones, you read about some and they talk about brainstorms and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that does happen,
Do you
but
know
to
what,
very
Chris?
few people.
I'll be really honest, and we'll wrap this one up because we need to move on. I guess at the end of the day, medications are one of those things, and I've had this argument on radio in the last couple of days. I always say, listen to your doctor first and then listen to yourself. I've had medications haven't worked for me and I've dropped them and the doctors agreed and moved me on to new ones. But I do think we need to be careful becoming a country where we question all medicines, question all doctors' advice, because
Well,
we're
they do that with
becoming
vaccines.
anti-everything.
You know why
And
they
I'm
do that
worried.
with vaccines? Because
Exactly.
a lot of people doing it. Have you ever noticed you don't have an 80-year-old anti-vaxxer?
Yep.
Because they remember kids in school who had
Yeah.
polio and stuff like
Look,
that.
Exactly.
I just worry that we're becoming a bit Americanized, where we're just protesting against everything.
sake of protesting.
And I had a guy the other night.
Hang on, it's my right to be outraged.
Yeah, but I'm going to move
It's
on.
in the
but
Constitution,
I just get a
isn't it?
little bit annoyed where you've got these people marching out there for anti-vaccinations, and you ask the person, "Have you been vaccinated?" "Oh yeah, I've been vaccinated." I said, "What are you out there for?"
Exactly.
And people just
Answer's probably,
it's
well,
fashion.
somebody paid me $100.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your story?
My story comes from Western Australia.
Yep.
We had the COVID app, which is contact tracing app, QR code, the whole bit. Wherever you go, you use this. And
This
we were
is the
told
WA safe.
This is in WA. Now I don't know how it applies exactly in other states, but I would imagine it's something similar. And I understand New South Wales has got this down pat pretty well.
Yep.
In WA, we were told download this COVID app, and this is what's going to happen. We will take the information, if needed for contact tracing because of a COVID outbreak. We will then use that for contact tracing purposes. Do not die. After 28 days, it's erased. Right, this is what we were told.
Yes.
Go and download this, all this campaign, go and download the app. It's your responsibility. And Mount McGowan was sitting there saying, I'll keep you strong and safe. All the rest of it, right? We now find out that the police commissioner used it for investigative purposes. All right, now fair enough, it was to do with the murder of Nick Martin, who was a bikie. Let's be honest, I don't know that the cops are exactly 100% concerned about the death of a bikie. Let's be honest. They're not exactly two groups who like each other. Regardless of that, it's contrary to what we were told the app would be used to. Now, interestingly, they told Chris Dawson to stop doing this and he told them to nick off. And this was back in, according to WA Attorney General John Quigley, this was back in December.
Yep.
And not a word was said. Now, the Premier, Mark, I only come about Mr 89% when there's good news, McGowan, said he didn't know. Well, I call BS. He knew. Because there is no way, and John Quigley said he knew about this back in December. Now, anyone who knows John Quigley, when he knows something, he has to share the information. I cannot
Correct.
see John Quigley going home to his wife and saying, well,
Guess what I
Dawson's
found out?
got this information, but I don't think I'll tell Mark. No, sorry, I don't think that worked. McGowan knew.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to get associated. You know
Yep.
why? Because anything that makes the government look sneaky, deceptive, or just barefaced lies, he doesn't want to know about that. He wants to sit up there and look stern-faced and say, I'm keeping you all safe.
The
Exactly.
question for
Thank you,
you,
Uncle
I don't know
Mark,
if
for
Jen
keeping us all
agrees,
safe.
but this is the thing, the QR code that
QR
we use.
code,
We
yep.
here in
You've got
WA,
one here. Yeah, we sign in
basically
here.
we
Yep.
sign in,
Yes.
and that tells the government who's been there,
Yes.
when you've been there. The problem I have is, I don't particularly care if the police find out anything through Safe App, because I haven't done anything wrong, and if you do the right thing, and I get the promises, but we've
Fred,
been promised things before.
No, sorry, mate, I've got to take you to task
Yep.
there. The point is, they said this would only be used for
but
this
they
purpose.
also said
Okay.
the GST wouldn't go
So
up and other things wouldn't happen.
The GST hasn't gone up. The GST is 10%.
Do you remember there'll be no carbon tax under a government I lead?
Well, there wasn't a carbon tax under the government she led because she was shamed.
but I'm saying to you,
until
how
she-
often?
But
how
no, but
often
no,
do
no, no.
they
That's
lie?
not an excuse, Fred. The point is, people were told, despite their reservations, to download this app, which they did, and they were told this was the only purpose for which it would be used.
Well, I
right?
can
So
tell
the point
you-
is,
Yeah.
it was used contrary to what we
Yep,
were told.
yep, I agree with
Right, and we now have the Premier ducking and weaving and saying, "Oh,
Well,
I
he's
didn't
already
know
put in
anything."
legislation.
Mate, that's BS.
He's put in legislation to make it. There's no longer the
But
hole
mate,
there.
John Quigley was, prior to being Attorney General of
Yep.
Western Australia, was a senior practicing barrister. He was a criminal lawyer and one of the best in the state. He was also the police union lawyer for a number of years, and he knew about this. Are you
guess they
telling me that
overlooked
when that legislation was being drafted,
Yep.
that he didn't know
What
there
do
were
you think?
holes in it?
Jen, let's hear what Jen
Well,
thinks.
I think this is what happens when you have one side of government having so much power in Parliament.
Yep.
So, you know, if you don't like it,
But
suck
when
it
this
and
happened,
you
they didn't.
voted.
This was before the last state
No,
election.
but they've just changed
but-
the law, and he was
yeah.
able to change it within a couple
So,
of minutes.
you know, I mean, politicians lie all the time, we know that, but apparently
But that doesn't make it acceptable.
No, it doesn't make it acceptable. But I just sit back and think, well, everybody was crazy about voting for Mark McGowan's Labor Party. And, you know, I don't care what side of politics,
Yeah, but that's because
you
they were
need-
drinking the Kool-Aid.
You need opposition in government, and we're going to see this throughout the
gonna
whole
get-
term.
There's
Oh,
going
it's
to
gonna
be.
get
I
worse.
agree with you,
Yeah.
Jen.
It's
There's
It's
going to
worse.
be more
the McGowan
issues.
government
Yeah.
in WA has got a very
government has-
nasty dose of God disease.
They
And the
closed the
only
loophole
people
on
that
this.
you can rely on to be
Yep.
looking after your interests now is the media.
And can I tell
Well,
you,
that
as I
won't
said
happen.
before, I can bet you bottom dollar here, there will be a court order if the police want to get that information. They will still be given it. I don't think any amount of
Well,
covering
actually,
your back.
if they're not entitled to access it, they can't
But
be
the
given it.
police-
I'll tell you
the
something.
law is
There are two
different,
things.
Chris.
You always need to be wary of police wanting more. Police always want more
Yeah.
powers.
Yes.
Okay, be wary of police wanting more
Yes.
powers. Police powers absolutely need to be kept in check, and you need a robust, statutory,
here's-
independent authority to keep an eye on.
Here's an idea.
Absolutely.
Get rid of the QR app, and what you do is you create like a little FPOS machine with a card, because this COVID virus is going to be around for the rest of our lives. What they need to do is create a registration card that you carry with you when you go to venues, and all you do is you tap that machine, and the machine goes, beep, you're registered. That's it. And all it does, it stores that information. It doesn't keep your name and your address. It just keeps a record of the number.
Yeah,
Right?
or
And
get
then-
vaccinated.
Yep.
And then hopefully we won't have to use
Correct.
QR codes.
That is it. We've run out of time. I've been told we're right out of time.
We have not. I demand Ted hasn't had his say. Oh.
No,
Ted!
we've used up his and more. Thank you very much. Chris Ilsley, 1086 OX, always on a Sunday from 6 to midnight.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to hearing you there. Have a Go News. How's it
Yes.
going?
Yeah, really well, really well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook too. We always have great competitions. and good fun.
HaveAGoNews.com.au.
Yes, or our Facebook page, Have a Go News.
Just have a go.
Beautiful.
Yes.
They're our bitching team for this week. Thank you very much for being in today. Music now. Mars Garage are back in singing a fantastic song. They're five brothers. You may notice that by the hair colour. But here they are, centre stage. The song that they sing is an original song. It's called Mr. Good Conscience. Here they are.
Sitting on the corner, watch as the world goes by. Just sitting on the corner, trying to ease my mind. Think about a woman and the trouble I'm in. Think about a woman, how things could have been. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold on me, won't let me go on, set me free. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me, over me. Staring at the moon and the stars above, looking for a sign in the shape of love. Head hanging low, wrestling with this heart of mine. Voice in my head says things will be just fine. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold on me, won't let me go on, set me free. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me, over me. walking round in circles, kicking dirt and stones. Heart says yes, my head says no, oh no. I'm trying to find answers, I'm so confused. I'm trying to find answers, what should I do? Think about you, baby, every day and night. Think about love to hold you tight. Think about the way things could have been. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold on me. Won't let me go on, set me free. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me. Over me. Over me. Over me. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me. Mr. Good Conscience got a hold over me. Mr. Good Conscience.
Well done to Mars Garage. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you very soon on the show again. And Frank, of course, Frank from our Frankie and Nick comedians on the end there. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Talking music is always a great thing that we do here on the couch. And with us again today is the lady who has no ABBA news whatsoever, Demelza Leonard.
How do you know that?
Well, I
You
just
had a
assumed.
quick quiz, didn't you?
Yes, nothing there unless you've changed the run.
Sadly, no. I did look,
Yep.
but not even in our upcoming album releases is there anything
I'm
ABBA.
surprised we've heard nothing about these new songs.
No.
Why would they not be eager?
The last I heard was that there was a veto on any biopics happening, and there's been no news. Not even Eurovision did anything pop up from them.
I
So
guess they
a bit
don't need the
disappointing.
money and they're not worried about holding off.
Well, one's a princess or something now too, so
Interesting.
doesn't need it.
All right, well, let's talk about what you've got. Noel Gallagher is back in the
Speaking
news.
of royalty, yes.
Yeah.
So Noel Gallagher from Oasis, or former Oasis a band member, has been doing a round of interviews for his band High Flying Birds that have been around for a while, and has likened himself to Prince William.
Really?
Basically saying that he too has a younger brother who can't stop mouthing off, and said that Harry
is
needs
true.
to shut up, although not quite using the word shut up. It was a very expletive-ridden interview, and that this is what you get for marrying an American. So he has well and truly shown his
Where does he
thoughts
live? In
about-
England?
He's in
Oh, well, there you
England,
go.
yeah. He's definitely, I think, Manchester, but I could be wrong.
Look, I have to say, I'm pretty amazed. I know it's not sort of music related, but Harry has gone a little bit too far. He needs to keep some of the private stuff private.
Yeah. I think that's exactly it. Now, all of this was part of a promo tour for the High Flying Birds Best of album, and he has said, surprisingly, most interviews he's been doing, he's been asked about the royal family and his thoughts. So,
And he's happy to do it if it promotes his album.
well, exactly.
Why not? Now, Bliss and Esso to make a return.
Yes, so absolute legends of the Aussie hip hop scene. They are coming back. They've just released their brand new single called OGs, featuring
I can't
Chilling
remember
It.
them. They're a trio, are they?
A trio, yeah. They've been around since, would have been 2003, 2004,
Yeah.
and huge in the Oz hip hop scene. Now, this is their first album in 4 years. It's actually their 7th album. So
Wow, they've done a lot.
So they have done a lot. This album's going to feature Casey Chambers, Dizzy Rascal, Ferguson James, a bunch of big names.
Would you promote
have
that you've
jumped
got
on this.
Cassie Chambers on there to
Casey
promote an album?
Chambers?
She's a
Well-
better actress, I find, these days than a singer. I love her
I
on
don't
how
mind her stuff,
Yeah.
and I think when she performs with them, there's just the
Maybe as a
collaboration can be
band.
very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, so that album for all you Bless NSO fans will be out Friday, the 27th of August. The single's out now.
We've got a few famous people bringing out albums.
Yeah, lots of albums are coming, which is great because this
Mm-hmm.
time last year everyone had stopped and had gone online.
Well,
so
no
we're
one was doing
actually
anything.
seeing all the projects coming through now. So great for potential birthday wish list. Lady Gaga, it has been 10 years
10th anniversary
since
album.
Born This Way was released.
I do like Lady Gaga, even though
Yeah.
she's a little bit wacky. I think her music is
She's
good.
brilliant. She's
Yeah.
brilliant. Now, Born This Way, this one is a covers by the LGBTQ community. So there's a whole heap of artists performing her songs. Lana Del Rey has Blue Banisters, which is coming out on July 4th. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, now they are producers. They've been producing since the 80s. They did Janet Jackson's Control album, Rhythm Nation, her Janet album. They've been around for ages. This is their first debut studio album. They've teamed up with Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men, Babyface, Toni Braxton.
A good team.
Massive, massive artists on this, which that is due out on July 9th. Billie Eilish. Yes, so we've seen 3 of her singles released so far. Her album comes out July 30th called Happier Than Ever. So expect that to do absolutely huge things. Wouldn't surprise me if that goes
Prince.
straight to number 1. Prince, yes. So there is a Prince album that is coming out.
So obviously this was recorded a while ago.
It's some of the, I would say some of the archived performances.
The Michael Jackson type stuff.
Yeah,
and
that has
Elvis
come
and all
out.
those famous
like
ones.
Tupac. Tupac had a few
Yeah,
albums
yeah.
once he died.
And they do
Welcome
well,
to
don't
America,
they?
it's
People
called.
miss the artist, so
Yeah.
they really go out and buy
They,
it.
they do. It's just whoever produces it and puts it together has to do it.
So who's
well.
done Prince? Who's looked after that one?
Oh, I'm not actually too sure. I think the estate is responsible
Okay.
behind it as well.
July
Barbara
30.
Streisand is back, and she has an album coming August 6th called Release to Me.
You've got to give her credit. I love Barbara Streisand. Her music is just amazing. She did jazz a while ago. She does a lot of jazzy type numbers, but I just think her music is incredibly beautiful.
I think she's not afraid to try new things. I mean, from a pop perspective, the last time she really charted was when she did the Celine
Yes,
Dion duet,
correct.
that Tell Him track in the 90s. So, but she's always putting out music, very similar to Dolly Parton and Tina Turner. So.
And have we got a lot of big events coming to Perth, big stars coming to Perth?
Well, Guns N' Roses is still on the bill to be coming, but it's all going to come down to what we can and
COVID.
can't do. Yeah.
COVID. We're very lucky here in WA, and we're not rubbing it in, but we've been lucky we're COVID free, and we've got great venues and ability to host 30 to 50,000
That's it.
people, which is great. So we hope all the big talented people come to Australia, WA.
That's exactly it.
specifically.
There's a lot due for 2022, so let's hope that those concerts come along.
Let's have a look at the top 3 for this week.
Let's check out the top 3. Coming in at number 3, it's Deja Vu, Olivia Rodrigo.
Good song as well, not a bad one.
She's a great talent, and you're going to see why very shortly. Doja Cat featuring SZA with Kiss Me More. Girls are topping the charts at the moment.
And number 1.
And Olivia Rodrigo is back on number 1, Good For You. So she's got 2 songs in the top 3.
2 in the top 3.
Yep, she's got a lot of her tracks are
And
charting
she's got
right
the
now.
money now, because that's how it all happens,
Well,
isn't it?
she's very, very talented. She writes some of her songs as well. So I think big things are going to come from her. So watch this space.
Are we bound to see next year John Farnham coming back again?
We never know.
Elton John. I
Maybe
reckon
some
Elton
Barnsley,
John will
he'll
come back again. And
Possibly. Wasn't the last one his retirement tour, though?
Yeah, but you know what? John Farnham's had 3 or 4 of those.
That's true.
And I reckon it's going to happen. I think Elton John, it's been boring last year. I think he'll come back again.
Possibly
do a little
do something.
appearance.
He's had his biopic come out, so now
I
he
think
needs
so.
to ride the wave.
After the break, we're going to be talking about customer service when it relates to travel, which is a big thing that people are looking forward to. Demelza, thank you for being with us. If you want more information about Demelza, it is, of course, DemelzaLennard.com. That's DemelzaLennard.com. Please check that out. She can help you with social media issues as well, and teach you how to use it all and make it all work for you.
That's exactly right.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Fred.
We'll see you when we come back again at the end of July.
Definitely.
We'll take a break at the couch, back with more straight after this. Welcome back to the couch. Nice to have your company this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're watching around Australia on Foxtel. Thanks for your company. Now, Nisha is back. She's talking to Chris Smoyer. He's just been on holiday, funny enough, and he's going to tell us about some of the customer service things that do and don't work. Over to you, Nisha.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fred. And we will be talking customer service, and you have been to Broome.
Hi,
Lovely.
Nisha. Yeah, look, I'm so relaxed right now. I was even talking about how I could even be more relaxed on the couch here, and I think Fred said I could put my feet up if I wanted, but I won't.
You look
I
relaxed
won't,
enough as
I'm
it is,
good
that's
enough.
fine.
Yeah.
I hope, Chris, I don't know if my microphone, I think it is, because I've only just been there in January this year, I hope you're going to tell us some good news about the customer service there. Everything was closed, right? When we went to Broome, everything was closed. For a place that wants to make money out of tourism, disappointing. Everything was expensive, you know, and you've got to really shop around. And some of the customer service at our hotel was terrible.
So look, yeah, I want to have a conversation about customer service, but I also want everybody to be assured that being a customer service expert, which I'm referred to as, I still relaxed while I was there. So I wasn't being analytical as I was walking around. I had a lovely time away, but I wanted to just share a couple of things that I've heard through some tourists, talking through other people around the place, just about some observations I've had about the changing nature of service in the tourism sector.
Okay, wonderful. And I know now because of COVID, obviously, but we know that we can't go overseas. So
No.
has that changed the dynamic? Because I know you've been reflecting a lot since you got back.
I certainly think so. Look, you know, I personally would have, if I could have travelled internationally, I would have, but I chose a local destination, which was amazing. But I think therein is a bit of a problem. We choose to go locally, yet we still have that expectation of, the service in Bali, the service in Europe.
Right, so it's mindset.
It is definitely mindset. Now, that can be a good thing because I guess when you go to a different destination with higher expectations, that will start driving up the level of service, you know, almost Bali service or European service in a small country town.
Was that your
like Broome.
experience?
Look, it wasn't, but I guess, and that's the interesting thing, you know, you get there, you're expecting sort of service from overseas, it doesn't happen. It's a little bit hit and miss, regrettably, but I think it can only be good for subsequent years. I think that's the biggest thing.
So important
But
to
then
reflect.
again, it's very important to reflect. But then the other thing just to touch on is, you know, who even said that customers do care these days? You know, people might just be thankful to being able to travel. So, you know, on the flip side, you know, I'm not saying there's tolerance for mediocrity, but I think it's interesting that some people might just say, look, it's not what I expected, but thank God, you know, I can travel for the first time, you know, in 2 years.
So what would a key tip be for anyone going up to Broome, given what you've said, or going anywhere for that matter within Western Australia?
Well, I think, you know, you've got to adjust your expectation based on the destination, to be honest. But having said that, no, don't adjust your expectation. Keep them up because that will just drive the level of service up, to be honest.
And when we look at people in general living in Western Australia, we're not all from here, right? So any reflections of what it's
Look,
like
this
for
is,
everyone there?
again, this is an interesting thing that came up. You know, there are many backpackers that work up there. Firstly, they're struggling to get more backpackers, but there are many backpackers up there that had to make a decision probably 2 years ago whether they were going to go back home to their country or stay here. Now, to be honest, there are people up there that, you know, openly say, you know, I can't go home. I want to go home. I had to make a decision in early 2020, do I stay or go? Now, in a service situation, I mean, you know, firstly, to have a bit of empathy for other people here, you know, there are people that aren't necessarily jumping for joy in service, but then also they're thankful that they're here but not in the country that is doing a lot worse when it comes to COVID.
Yeah, so it's tough putting a big smile on your face every morning for 8 or 12 hours a day.
But having said that, if I was to be, and that's a bit of compassion there to think about other people, but then also from a critical perspective, I do think it's very commonly spoken about, you know, talking about short staffing. And I think that's actually a bit of an excuse that's happened. I mean, you don't go around telling the public, you know, if you were 5 people short on this show today, would you openly say it? Well, no, you try and you know, get by without it. The show must go on, exactly. And I think it can become a little bit of an excuse. But then I guess the other issue then, sort of stemming from the staffing, is that I think the staff that they do have, they probably need to do a little bit more in training and empowerment of these staff.
What do you mean by empowerment?
Well, let me give you just a very quick example. We found that in our room service on one particular day, the toilet paper wasn't replenished. So we were out of toilet paper.
That's very tough
And we only
situation.
found out about that at about, 6 p.m. at night, probably 6:30 actually. So, obviously the cleaners and the housekeeping staff had all gone. So I went to the reception and I just asked them. I said, we weren't given, fresh toilet paper. What can I do? And I'm going to be honest, Nisha. She was so lovely, but so bewildered as to what she could do. As in, she was almost like a deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do in that situation.
Goodness.
And
That sounds very challenging.
It is when we think about, well, where is it stored? Can I grab it? She was a lovely person, but just thinking about the fact that, we train, it's very siloed that, okay, this department is in charge of that. But what happens at 6 p.m. when something's gone wrong? So, look, it was resolved, fairly easily. And I don't want to go on about it, but I think the staff that we do have, that we want to hold on to, yes, they might be transient, but I think we've got to make sure that we invest in them because that's the only way we can deliver the service up to those customers'
And keep
expectations.
them interested, like you said, for a lot of backpackers stuck here, so to speak, in one way, like meaningfulness, purposefulness.
Train them, exactly.
Yeah.
Let them have a good experience. But look, I want to finish on a good note anyway. I think
what are some reflections that are positive?
Well, what is great? Well, firstly, from a positive perspective, all of the people that I was speaking to, I almost said, are you from Perth? And they'd say, oh no, we're from the Gold Coast, or we're from Armidale in New South Wales, and some obscure places. And you're so used to going to Margaret River and seeing people from Perth come down there. But I think there were so many people from interstate, which was great. And when I looked at the service that the tour operators were providing, they're look, not only are they lovely people, but they're so proud of this country. They're so proud to showcase Western Australia. And I think, there's this big element of sometimes you go to Europe and, it's almost like tourists are a bit of a burden. We talked about patience a few weeks ago, and you have to be patient with tourists. Not to mention the hot weather, the humidity, it can get people's nerves up. But I think given last year's very soft tourist season, I think, people are so hungry for more tourists. They're hungry for interaction with people. They're very patient. They're very understanding. But as I mentioned, they are so proud to just, say, this is Western Australia, this is Broome, let me show it off. So just a couple of observations.
That's fantastic. And you look very relaxed. And
I do.
So I'm looking forward to finding out once you've, so obviously you're back and you're relaxed, how you maintain that relaxed state.
Ongoing, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And look, I haven't had a holiday in 2 years, and many people haven't had holidays in a longer time. But look, I'm just lucky that I was able to go and come back refreshed and just sort of reflect on what's happening, because we are definitely seeing a change in dynamic on that customer service landscape.
Good. Well, it sounds like you had a great time, and I know with the diversity you just talked about, I'm sure that you had lots of great conversations as well. So if you want to get to Broome, I'm sure Chris will talk more with you about that soon.
I'd highly recommend it, definitely.
Yeah. Where can we find out more about you and Broome?
Definitely. And we can talk about customer service, but we can also talk about Broome if you want. ChrisSmoyer.com and my direct email, chris@chrissmoyer.com. And I also want to say thank you, because I've been on the couch now officially 12 months this week. So it's been a whole year here, which is really nice. So thank you for having me back and all that. Exactly. Refreshed, ready to go for another year. So
beautiful. We'll see you very soon then.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Nisha.
Pleasure. If you've missed any of that at all, of course, our Facebook page, The Couch, or thecouch.com.au. Thank you so much again, and back to you, Fred.
Thank you, Nisha. And Chris, where did you stay? Can I ask? Cable Beach?
I didn't stay at the I stayed at Cable Beach
I.
in the Cable Beach area. Yes.
But not that hotel.
Not the Cable Beach.
Look, I have to say, I love what you said. The one main thing that you said is something that's really important. Adjust your expectations.
Yes.
And I think we should all do that with everything when we think about customer service. COVID has changed the world, and I think we've still got those expectations before COVID. And I think we need to be nicer to people, a little bit more generous in our thoughts about their customer service. And we had the same thing in Broome. Everyone seems to say we're short-staffed, and I think it's just a cover to expect slower service. But we didn't complain, because when you're on holidays, who cares? But thank you, welcome back, and I'll send that invoice now, 12 months. Nisha, thank you. We'll see you very soon on The Couch with another great guest later on. We'll take a break, back with more of The Couch right after this. But, no, we're not going to take a break. Thank you for reminding me. I actually forgot. We're going to give away some pizza, and I think we should do it now. Am I right? We're going to give away some pizza? Yes, we are. Thanks to Bites Pizza, we're going to give away some amazing pizza. Live TV, what can you do? That's the way it works. If you would like to have a slab of pizza, I'm giving away 2 this week. Funny enough, I just found out myself we're giving away 2. 2 of these amazing $25 vouchers. To win, there's the number, 0439 929 929. The code word is BITES, B-Y-T-E-S, Erindale Road in Balcatta. Please support them. They're wonderful people, and we would love to give away 2. Now, if you live south of the river, you can still enter, but you'll have to pick up the pizza yourself. Hey, it's not that hard to drive 25 minutes into the north. Thank you very much to Bites Pizza. Can we go to a break now? Yes, the floor manager said yes. We'll take a break. More of The Couch coming up after this. Welcome back to The Couch. It's always nice to have Bradley Holland, otherwise known as Super Red Zoo Man himself. We're actually looking forward to meeting one of your friends today, Red.
Yes, so
Ranger Red.
Today I've brought along Blossom, the unoriginal ringtail possum, because she's not the first Blossom I've ever had.
Tell us a little bit about her.
You can see she's a little bit shy, so...
Is it the lights are very bright here?
That's all right. There we go. That's a good look at her face there.
So cute.
So... Unfortunately, or fortunately, this possum is an Eastern States ringtail possum, and they're not endangered. Unfortunately, the West Australian ringtail possum, because there's 2 main populations based down south around the Busselton southwest area, face the risk of, if something like a fire goes through, it would literally wipe out the population.
Wipe out the whole lot.
So to originally help with our educational message back in 2015, I wrote a book called Blossom the Ringtail
I've
Possum.
got that book right here, and I'm just going to wait. Charlotte's going to take a look at the book. Now, people can actually get this book. It's actually Ranger Red Presents. Ranger Red introduces Blossom to the world. This fascinating glimpse into the life and unique West Australian animal will... enchant children and adults as well alike. Look out for it. You can get the book in a series form as well. There's going to be more than one.
I've been a little bit lazy, or maybe a little bit busy.
Unlike you. Probably busy, I'd say.
So there are actually meant to be a whole range of some of the animals that I take out on mobile displays discussed in the book.
It's fantastic. What age group is this covering?
It's based 3 to 5 year olds.
And it's pretty well done.
But
Great
for anyone
pictures.
that doesn't like to read and just look at pictures, there's a
plenty
picture
of them.
on every page.
And you can get the book, folks, if you want the actual book itself, you can get it straight from the zoo, Red Zoo, and you can buy it there, and soon you might be able to buy it on... You'll even autograph it. Well,
Yes.
we'll talk about that soon, about your school holiday activities. Now, what does a possum eat?
So the eastern ringtail possums predominantly feed on certain species of eucalyptus leaves, where again, our West Australian ones have a different digestive system. So their main feed tree is the peppermint tree that grows again down south. So sometimes people, there's a foreign form of peppermint tree and a West Australian form. It's the West Australian form which is the primary diet of the ringtail possum. And unlike the brushtail possum that sleeps in a hollow log, these guys actually make themselves a nest called a dray. And it's literally a round ball made up of entwined leaves.
Now, for those people who don't know, Red Zoo is actually a conservation park and a zoo. So for those people who are a little bit concerned about the animals, you guys specialise in looking after them.
Yes.
Do you have a breeding program as well where you're trying to breed some of the animals?
We do for the devils and the hairy-nosed wombats, which we've got coming, and if we're lucky, they may arrive either the first week of the school holidays or even the week before the school holidays, which are coming up. We don't actually currently run or have the space to run a ringtail possum breeding setup, but it is something we maybe look down the track.
With a ringtail possum, are they an animal that people, like kids out there, would be watching this and adults say, oh, how beautiful, we want one? Can people hold something like this at home? Can you get a licence to have one? Or
not in WA, on the East Coast. And I was explaining about the brushtail possum, and then if I can gently coax, you'll see they get the name ringtail possum because of that little ringtail, unlike the brushtail possum, which has a big furry brushtail possum.
It's almost skin, isn't it, in a sense?
Oh.
Now, how old is this little possum, Blossom?
This one came with the zoo, so from our records, I believe she's approximately 4 4.5 years old.
And are they night or daytime animals?
They're nocturnal, which means they sleep during the day and they become active at night.
We've upset her today
Yeah.
because we've got hot lights all. It's cool in here, which is good. Now, let me run through some of the stuff that's happening as well, Ranger Red. You've got the activities happening over the school holidays. Let's go through them. You've got, obviously, we've talked about the books that people can buy on the day at Red Zoo, but there's also going to be the zookeeper for a day.
Yep.
How does that work?
You drop your child off at 10 a.m, pick them up at 3 p.m.
Yep.
For the first half of the day, they do all the chores and jobs that a zookeeper would do. We then give them lunch and something to drink and whatnot, and then they do encounters, so they get to go on with the dingoes, the
And they're
squirrel
perfectly
gliders.
safe.
Yes.
Is there an age limit for that?
So we state on our page that it's 8 to 16-year-olds, but if we get someone between the ages 6 to 8, we usually have 2 days over the holidays where we call junior.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Sounds fantastic. So you've also got activities running from 10 to 3. What sort of activities?
So that includes snake handling, lizard handling, frolicking with the ferrets, bird feeding. Obviously, you don't get to handle the possums, but you'll get a chance to see them in the walk-through enclosure.
Oh, look at that shot of Blossom. Isn't she beautiful? Very placid, isn't she? Doesn't make any sound at all.
No,
Very quiet.
no.
And she's obviously eaten. So, and they don't eat people because they only eat peppermint leaves. So we're pretty safe with that. Do they ever bite?
They can. More so the brush-tailed possums, and they can have a pretty nasty bite. And you can see those big whiskers, and that helps her being nocturnal. It helps her feel her way through the branches and that as she's exploring on the log.
She is, and she's very placid. Look at the hands, all the paws on her. The activities are running from 10 to 3 for the whole of the school holidays. Now, 9 to 5 is the normal time. The zoo's open, folks, but not just 5 days a week. They're open 7 days a week from 9 to 5. There's plenty of food and drinks for the kids to keep them hydrated, and keep them non-hungry as well. There's ice creams, there's pies, there's sandwiches, there's other stuff there, so they're going to have a lot of fun. And Ranger Red, believe it or not, this man himself, he will make an appearance every single day, so kids can actually climb him, they can attack him, throw him to the floor, and sign autographs in the books as well, and take photos with you as well, Ranger Red.
Yes, definitely.
Anything
we've
forgotten?
No, I think we've covered everything for the up-and-coming school holidays.
Looking forward to it. You're such a busy man. Anything new? Any new animals coming along?
As I said, hopefully we may be getting the hairy-nosed wombats across.
Fantastic. Well, I know we'll be the first to have them on TV here in Perth. Thank you, Ranger Red, for being with us today. If people want more information, tell us where the zoo's located and in the website.
We're located on Century Drive in Pinjarra, which is just off the Pinjarra Road. Or you can jump on our website, or you can phone us, and there's a good chance I'll be on the end of the phone and can answer any questions you may have.
And if you want to keep the kids busy over the school holidays, go and get the books. How much are they, do you know?
They're $15.
$15. Bargain. It looks after the conservation park and the zoo. They rely on people's money to keep them going. They're a private zoo. They're not funded by government. And Red, you know, it's expensive, isn't it, to feed all these animals? Well done. You're doing an amazing job. We look forward to having you back in 4 weeks' time. Please support them over the school holidays, and you'll have a lot of fun, and kids will have fun too. Zookeeper for the day. We'll take a break. Back with more. We've got Daniele coming in to tell us what's happening in Perth, and more on the couch. See you then.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Welcome back to The Couch. Property is hotting up around Australia. Prices are back on the rise, and so are rents, unfortunately. But to tell us more about this, we're talking to Steve Collins. Rob and Rod are with him as well. Over to you, Steve.
Yes, I'm with Rob Druitt and Rod Ryan. Thanks very much, Fred. And boys, we're from the Talking Property podcast. And I tell you what, we had a bit of a, this week in Perth, we had our 24th suburb became with a median price of $1 million. That's incredible. In a place like Perth, 24 suburbs. 4 suburbs this year since COVID started have had median prices of $1 million. That's amazing, because prior to COVID, you would not have expected anything like that, would you?
Well, we're playing a little bit of catch up to the East Coast, but certainly the East Coast has been powering ahead, particularly after the COVID factor last year. Sydney market leading, of course. I think Sydney's median house price now is over 1.2 million, which is
and that includes
huge.
all of the western suburbs, not because over there the western suburbs are the
right
cheaper
out
suburbs,
to Mount Druitt.
and right out to Liverpool and MacArthur Park and Campbelltown and all that. That's a fair few number of houses over there.
But not only that, Steve, too, we had a guest on Talking Property the other evening, and he was advising us that this is not just for Australia, this is a worldwide phenomenon that's going on.
Well, he was talking about Puerto Rico, wasn't he, which is one of the hot spots
so
in
right around the world,
property.
the property market's been, lifting. So
it has,
not just here.
And you think that's because COVID has given people a bit of a scare and they thought, well, we need to get settled, we need some permanence or whatever. Because certainly I think, particularly with Australia and Western Australia, a lot of your sales over the past year, have they been from expats that actually want to come back and live here again? Would that be right?
Right around the country, and particularly in Western Australia, the expats coming back in have driven the top end of the market.
Because they've got the money, because they're usually in well-paid jobs overseas, aren't they?
But this is the first time in my 30 years, and Rod's even longer than 30 years in the industry, I think, that I've actually we've witnessed all of the capital cities, pretty much all of the regional areas all increasing in price. Regional Victoria, regional New South Wales, South Australia, obviously all the way through Queensland, Gold Coast and so on is really moving now.
And even so, on our podcast, we've spoken to real estate agents all over Western Australia, from Esperance up to Kununurra, really, and all around the coast and inland as well, and they all have the same story, don't they?
The same story. So there is a COVID factor, so to speak, in that there is a greater appreciation for your own home, but underlying it, there is a lot of cheap money around too. Interest rates are at the lowest level in living memory, so that is really driving the market as well.
And the Reserve Bank has said that they're going to preserve those low rates for quite a while, haven't they?
Next 3 years.
It's a big call to say that the rates will remain the same for 3 years. The banks might increase and can increase the rates and have done that in the past. The cheap money that the federal government put out, Commonwealth government put out, obviously to stimulate the economy, 0.1%, 0.2%. They gave it to the banks basically to say, get that out into the marketplace and let's stimulate the economy, which it certainly has. That's probably not going to last that much longer. So that's why we had and have had up until very recently these very low fixed rates, even down to 1.8% for 3 years. So that's going to start to phase out. So I guess the advice is now's a very good time to fix in some portion of your loan with those very low rates, but also to see what you can borrow now, because if they're not going to increase interest rates, if they need to cool the market, which the Sydney market's really powering along, they're going to need to increase some of the restrictions. So you'll probably be able to borrow more money today than you will be able to in 12 months.
Yeah. I agree with that. But the other thing is, as you said, that there's been so many sales, although it is starting to cool down, but you can only borrow if you've got something to purchase, can't you? You can't take a mortgage out on nothing. So what is it like for those who first home buyers or those who want to downsize or whatever? What's it like for them?
Well, first home buyers, it's always hard to get into the market, and it's hard to outsave the market when the market's moving forward so quickly. There is a great saving scheme with the Commonwealth Government, which is great, but it does have limited numbers, and that helps, is certainly helping. But it's always hard, isn't it, Rod, with first home buyers in the market?
It is, but when you think about it, I mean, first home buyers in Western Australia is one thing, but you imagine, years ago I used to, in my role as a real estate agent, I used to go to the local schools and talk to these young kids in their year 5 and year 6 about, what was going to happen when they left mum and dad and moved out into the world, and that, they had to go and either lease a house or rent a house or whatever. Could you imagine me doing that in Sydney at the moment and staring these 17 or 18-year-old kids in the eye?
Well, you would only be able to go to talk to the schools in Vaucluse.
Well, say, you're just going to need a big deposit because your house is going to be, $1.2 million. I mean, it's really quite sad and socially very concerning about that side of it, because it is getting harder and harder. Melbourne's the same, Sydney's the same, Brisbane's the same. Western Australia, big chance to do quite well if you're young and coming here, because you can get into a house, 500 metres from the beach in certain places and, $350,000. So, we've got a big future for us here, I think, with young people coming here.
Australians are different from many people in other parts of the world because to Australians it's very, very important to own your own home. If you go to a lot of cities in Europe, for instance, they only rent. They wouldn't even occur to them to buy a house because they can get these long-term rents which they cap the rents, etc., for years and years and years. Are we able to build enough homes here in Australia, do you think, to keep up with demand? Because surely at some stage we've got to run out of land, or surely at some stage it's going to get longer and longer to be able to build that house if there's a big demand.
Well, we've already run out of bricklayers, so we'll see how we go.
So buy a timber house, is that what you're saying, Rod?
Well, there's people out there that are now starting to, design houses up in such a way that to avoid that, so that there is more scope to be able to, build a few different ways and so on. But there's a lot of building going on in WA, obviously. But that you've got a lag there of used to be say 6 months, but now it's probably
18 months.
So that's a big thing that's come out of nowhere for us as well. I think the whole interesting thing is though, if you were to ask Rob and myself, back in March last year, if we could foresee things how they're going to be now, it is.
You would have been wrong.
And so
it was a different view, wasn't it? Yes.
It's a very interesting time.
Well, I remember you both buying some rusty razor blades because it was difficult to sell back then, wasn't it?
One of the big banks we won't mention had a prediction that housing prices could fall as much as 30%. They got that completely wrong. But the game changer really was JobKeeper and the amount of government stimulus, which has been right around the world. One of the reasons with cheap money.
And also, despite COVID, the employment rate has grown, particularly here in Western Australia.
It's incredible rebound. Incredible rebound. So the great challenge now, you were mentioning before, Steve, about building enough homes is getting the labour. Yeah. So, obviously we I don't want to get into the vaccination thing, but boy, we all need to get vaccinated so we can try to get back to normal. And then hopefully we can start to see some immigration back into Australia of skilled labour.
Yeah, well, that's right. Because that has stopped.
What he's trying to say, we need an injection of people in here.
We certainly do. We should get your bull working, shouldn't we?
It's another story.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe for another segment.
It is.
And a different time slot.
It is amazing because right over Australia, for instance, I believe that the median house prices in Hobart are even higher than in Perth, which I find quite incredible. Because really, Tasmania hasn't had a lot of growth over the years. It's sort of remained fairly static, hasn't it?
It has, but been very popular with people coming from Melbourne. So if you look at the scale, obviously you've got Sydney at the top, Melbourne, then Canberra. Has had fantastic growth.
Yeah, but everybody there's got an assured income,
good job security. So it's, and Perth is much further down the ranks, so great opportunities.
It is. Well, Rob and Rod, thanks very much for joining us again on the couch. And I look forward to seeing you again in a week, just so that we can do some more recording of the Talking Property podcast. We've got some great shows coming up on that, haven't we?
And we're in the top 10% in the world too.
We are in the top 10% of the world. We've got Damien Collins, Gavin Hegney. Now, Gavin Hegney, we had him on the show.
Fantastic.
Isn't he a mind when it comes to information about in real estate? He's just incredible.
Yeah, he's just a very, very student of the game, as they say, very much so, yeah.
Well, Rod Ryan, thanks very much for joining us on Talking Property.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Steve Collins. What's the website, Steve?
It is www.talkingproperty.net.com.au.
There it is on the screen for you.
.net.au, sorry.
Well done, Steve. Thank you guys for coming in today.
You're very welcome.
Question without notice, a very quick one. I was asked the question on radio the other night, whatever happened to the old... Do you remember when you used to be able to buy a block from the government, cheap blocks, and you had 2 years to build on them? I don't know what that was called, whether it was Homes West or those sort of blocks. What happened to those blocks? How come we don't see them much anymore?
Well, if we go back quite some time, there was some government releases of land, and that was one of their schemes, was to enable you to try and get people into the market.
Exactly.
And they did have some restrictions on it, and so that people wouldn't speculate on them because they were being sold at such a good price that you would have to build them within 2 years.
I think it was.
New Living, I think they called it at the time, and it was through Homes West or Department of Housing, which it is now. And I guess the government shift has been more to work with private developers, and so that we can get the land out quickly.
So they're more interested in making money by the sounds of it.
It could be too.
Because I notice up at Brabham, where I'm going to be living soon, I bought mine off Whiteman Edge, which is through Stocklands, whereas there's a government release through Pete Real Estate, and they're selling the government, but there's not much difference in price.
No.
So we're used to be able to buy a block, say Mandurah 20 years ago, say for 60 grand, but the normal price might have been 100. Those days are gone. You don't see it anymore where there's new land releases for first home buyers. It's not happening.
Well,
Can you see it coming back?
I don't think so, given the amount of demand. But then the government's role is maybe to provide, particularly federal government, to provide those first home buyer benefits to still help the first home buyers get in the market.
And talking about those, just a quick yes or no, or maybe, the grants. Do you think, like myself, I think they should have been there permanently? I think it's a shame that they've put them in for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and they've taken them away, because some people have really benefited, the rest of us have got nothing. Do you think they should have had some sort of...
It may be for me.
They could obviously help the market.
I think I think there was definitely a benefit, but the problem that we all had was that the government gave you $20,000 and then the builder took it away from you again with a price increase.
That was the problem.
We're back
That's
to
the
square.
problem. Well, thank you very much, both of you. And Steve, thank you very much. Talking Property. When is the new one up that we can catch?
Each new episode of Talking Property goes up every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Yep. Check it out and you'll find out what's happening in the property market here in WA and around Australia as well with Talking Property. Thank you guys for being in once again. We're going to take a break. More of The Couch coming up right after this.
Connect with The Couch online through Facebook, Instagram and YouTube.
Nothing. I was just looking at this beautiful cannoli. Do you know what a cannoli is? It's like a... Oh, how can I describe it? It's one of those, and it's got the custard inside it. And I believe my good friend Garam Restaurant are now selling them, but we're going to talk about that and more, because in the studio, What's on Perth is Nisha Seth and Daniele Foticazzola. Can we all sing Happy Birthday very quickly in the studio? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daniele. Happy birthday to you. Thank you very much.
You don't get sung happy birthday every day on TV.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
You can keep that recording if you want.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
So, Talking Perth.
Yes.
What's happening?
So there's many things happening. So usually this time of year, I would usually escape Perth, escape the winter and go off to Italy, but that's obviously not on the cards.
Where is Italy? Where's Bali? God,
where is it?
Isn't it funny? Do you find, I know we're sort of moving sideways here, but do you find now that we haven't done the travelling thing, we're sort of like, oh yeah, whatever. I still want to go, but I'm happy now, just thinking, I don't want to get excited.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, we're very lucky where we are, but I still do think about it a lot.
I want to go back to Athens all of a sudden as well. Athens and Santorini.
Yeah.
I'd like to wake up there tomorrow morning.
A team trip, Fred. Let's do it.
When
those flights are open.
We'll all be at the lovely Casuarina prison, breaking COVID rules. I'm just thinking,
that's definitely not on our list.
Could you imagine us going to the airport and say, send us to Greece, send us to Italy, and woo, we're all in jail. But no, look, it will happen. It will happen. Italy is such a beautiful place. I know Daniele's got a house there with his family house, and you absolutely love going back to Italy, don't you? You're such an Italian, and you love your cooking. You've done up all your kitchen and everything, haven't you?
Yes. So
what's the most, out of everything that you miss in Italy, what would be the major thing apart from friends and rallies?
I think it's just like the way of life, especially in a summer, not even in a cosmopolitan, but even like a little small regional town has such a vibrant.
Yeah.
You never get bored with people saying
I feel like it's very different. I think what I miss actually most about Italy is the chaos. So you actually don't know what you're going to expect every day. Here we're very lucky. You're going to find a parking spot here and be on time.
A bit more routine here.
In Italy, you just don't know what you're going to
get.
Well,
I hope we all get back there in the next 6 months. I reckon everybody's holding out. What's happening with the Opera Film Festival that you're promoting?
So with Opera, we've got an Opera Film Festival, which is a beautiful introduction to people that might not have seen an opera, but it's celebrating the artistry of film and opera together. So what few people would realise is there's many films that have very significant opera moments. So films like The Godfather, Pretty Woman, La Vida Bella, Shawshank Redemption, and these films, these directors have used opera not just to have the characters at the opera, but also to help move the narrative, and it reflects what's happening. So yes, we've got the film festival's been really popular. We've got our closing night film Pretty Woman, which I'm not sure if you're aware, it was actually loosely based on an opera as well, La Traviata. Yeah, so very similar storyline. And then in the film, there's that scene where Richard Gere takes Julia Roberts to the opera at the Met, and she's really overcome. So the way the film festival works is you get a popcorn and a drink on arrival. There's a pre-performance talk where they talk about the opera moment. Then there's an opera performance. So there'll be an aria from La Traviata,
So it's
and
three
then you
in
watch the
one.
film.
So you're getting the touch of opera.
Yeah, you're getting that little taste. If you
plus the
haven't been
movie.
Yeah.
Plus a little bit, you can have a wine, and maybe a little bit of a nibble.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. I can see what happens at one of your events. They look amazing. Where is it going to be? Do we have different venues?
Oh, no, so it's always at Palace Cinemas in Rain Square.
Oh, they do a great job. But thank you to them, Kevin and the team there.
They're wonderful.
They are wonderful. And Kevin's back next week talking about the Scandinavian Film Festival. The Opera Film Festival, how long does it run for?
So Tuesday the 29th of June is the final night. So it's been every Tuesday in June. So then that's it. It's all done.
We're going to give away some tickets.
Yes.
2 tickets to that closing night. So stay tuned. At the end of the show, we'll do that. Now, this one here got me. I said to Daniele, what does cavpag mean?
Yes.
And he turned it into an Italian word, and it sounds a lot better.
So speaking of opera, so Cavalleria Rusticana and Pagliacci.
Cavalleria is what?
So it's the name of the two operas.
Sounds so romantic.
Yeah, so it's a double billing. So if you haven't been to an opera before, this is a great one to go and see, because it's like Act 1 is one opera, then there's the break, and then Act 2 is the second opera. So Cavalleria Rusticana is set in Sicily on Easter Sunday, and it's kind of like a little bit of a drama amongst a provincial town. And then Pagliacci follows a group in Calabria, kind of like a touring commedia dell'arte group, and what happens there. And it's also it's like a real opera. So if you haven't been to the opera before, it's traditional arias. As I said, they're two short operas, so you kind of get a taste of two in one night.
Fantastic.
So,
now, this is going to be at His Majesty's Theatre, folks, on the... Is it July 2021? So it's going to be what
so
date
from
in
July 17th.
17th
Yeah.
of July.
Oh, that's my
17th of July.
There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a nice birthday gift for you, Nisha. Now, moving right ahead, we're tracing family from Italy to Australia at Fremantle Film Festival. How's that working
So
out?
this is an exciting project. So this is from Viola Dana. So they're an orchestra, and so they're well known for composing original film scores. So they'll usually play silent films on a big screen, and then they compose their own music live. So I've seen a few of their works. They've done a lot of Buster Keaton films from the 1920s. So they're great because you're watching, all that slapstick comedy, and then there's like the drums and the strings. But this one they've done, it's again a film from the 1920s, and it's a propaganda film that showed the voyage from Italy to Australia that migrants would take around 1924.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So you're seeing everything from the perspective of these people that actually made this voyage. So it's like stopping over from, you're seeing, what the port looks like in Messina to Colombo to...
Like most of our parents did, or your grandparents.
to Mauritius, to eventually seeing what Fremantle looks like then, Brisbane. So they've composed this really beautiful score. It will be playing in Fremantle on the big screen, and then they'll be performing live and at the WA Maritime Museum.
Do you know what I love? How WA Opera specifically has changed the way they operate to try and become relevant for what's happening today in life when you think of COVID, etc. And they have done a amazing job, and I know you work with the opera in the way of PR and all that sort of thing. Have you been amazed with the shows, and because you've been involved for a long time?
Yeah, definitely.
It's been great, isn't it? All these new ideas that they're coming up with. I mean, I have to say, the restaurants with the opera theme. When's that all happening again?
Hopefully soon. There's we've got plenty of other. We just did a dinner actually with Garam, like Cavalleria Rusticana themed dinner. So, with me, whenever I can link opera, food,
that's what
Italian together.
Wonderful.
Talking about Garam, Nisha, have you been to Garam?
I have, yes.
Did you like it?
I had a beautiful experience. Really enjoyed the food.
We've got 2 minutes. Tell us about Garam, Nisha, and then you tell me about the man that runs it and the type of food you can get.
Okay.
Well, my experience from a customer service experience, I have to say, was exceptional, so very attentive. I really enjoyed my meal, but most importantly is good manners when you're there. So, when you're eating and you get interrupted all the time and it's frustrating.
Fine dining, isn't it?
Yep, it's fine dining.
Yeah.
So I'll let you speak to it more though.
Well, it's by Guy Grossi, who's probably considered like the
Amazing
godfather
chef.
of Italian cuisine in Australia. So he's got Grossi Florentino in Melbourne, and then he opened Garum a few years ago. And Garum is like a Roman restaurant. So the name Garum actually means it's a fermented fish sauce that was back from ancient Roman times.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
here I thought was just a name.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's
it's an actual, yeah. And so Roman cuisine, so lots of cacio e pepe, carbonara, dishes like that. And they've also got a retail concept. So Bottega di Garum, which is a retail store. You can purchase things like the Garum fish sauce. You can purchase, your marinated mushrooms, your olives, some dried pasta. And they've also added everyone's favourite dessert. They're not Roman, but Sicilian, because the best things are
So
possibly
it's like
Sicilian.
we're not in Italy, but there's a lot of Italian stuff.
Can I
it's
just say,
amazing.
talking about the
Thank
opera, we're just about out of time. We need to give away those 2 tickets. Tell us what we're giving away, please.
2 tickets to the closing night of the Opera Film Festival.
Now,
to
if you
see
would like
Pretty
to win
Woman.
those tickets, on screen you will see an SMS detail. All we need you to do is send an SMS to 0439 929 929. The code word, Daniela, is
Opera.
And we need your name and address, and we'll get those details. Closing night, which will be on roughly what night?
On Tuesday, June 29th.
Beautiful, you're good with your figures.
Yeah.
Garum, located where?
At the West Inn.
And they're
you can pick up your
selling cannoli now.
Yes, 3 flavours, traditional ricotta, chocolate mousse, or something a bit different, ricotta, white chocolate and honey.
Support them. They're a local, fantastic restaurant. We need people like that. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Thanks, Daniele. Thanks, Tanisha. Thanks to you at home.
Thank you.
Thanks to all our wonderful crew. Have a wonderful week and see you next week. Bye-bye.